The Christian church has had a long history of teaching on vocation, of helping people understand their vocation in light of their faith. And vocation is an ancient word that comes from, its root word means callings. However, in the last several decades, the church has really, and Christianity has really had a tendency to conflate the idea of vocation and occupation. We've sort of said, oh, your vocation, that's your job, that's your career, that's what you do to get a paycheck. And that's a really flat understanding of vocation. Vocation is a much more complex idea of sort of this long-term motivation or this long-term gifting in your life. So maybe your vocation is to be a storyteller, or maybe your vocation is to mentor others, or maybe your vocation is to fix broken things, or maybe your vocation is to build something from scratch. Those are callings on your life. Whereas to be an architect specifically, or to be a doctor specifically, or to be a teacher specifically, those are occupations, and they occupy us for a certain time and space in our life, but that is not the same thing as vocation. And so for many people, we need to think about this idea that our vocation could infuse any occupation that we have. So maybe we're not doing our dream job, but maybe we bring some of our dreams, some of our vocation, some of our calling on our life to that job.
When we look at the leadership gaps with millennials, this is a group of young people that I study. We're talking about teenagers and young adults. And we look at today's 20-somethings, and we find that so many of them have lost their way in terms of faith, and really their faith in Christ, because we haven't vocationally discipled them. We haven't given them a reason to connect their faith with what God's called them to do and their work in life. And so we see that there are three different groups of people that are being lost. And this is true of young men and young women, but young creatives. These are people who are, journalists, writers, storytellers, young science-minded individuals. These are engineers, people who are interested in medicine and careers related to science. And then also young entrepreneurs, people who are great marketers and business builders and leaders. And so those three categories, entrepreneurs, creatives, and science-minded individuals, are being lost. And I think it's because we haven't vocationally discipled them. A huge opportunity for churches and families is to help connect faith and work, to connect faith and calling, and particularly with young women who are now have more opportunities in the world, who are more likely to be educated than young men, for us to actually help develop these young leaders, to vocationally disciple them into what God's called them to be.